questions of the week. Did it the right way this time.
All right.
You don't know this one. It's not going to be a curveball though. So
Making me nervous now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I imagine I just sandbagged you with something super confusing. So this is bridging off of last week. So last week's question was, why do we send so many deals to CMHC?
Right.
This one is, what deals can you not bring to CMHC?
Ooh, that's good. Okay, I like it. I like it. I know we've touched on this in our segments before, but never actually just addressed this head on. So high level, just start that way. I always like talking just very broad. Commercial deals, so meaning non-residential deals. So CMHC insurance program is only for residential deals, and it's to boost residential housing, get more people to buy these buildings, and supply more housing and rental stock on the market. So let's call it industrial, retail, office is a no-go right there. Then it gets a little bit more nuanced. Then we can dive into, okay, well, what if I have a mixed-use building, meaning residential with a component of commercial?
Yep.
This is where it gets a little bit more interesting. So rule of thumb for this is no more than 30%, or I think 33%, a third of the building, essentially, right? So no more than call it 30%, keep things simple, of the building can be commercial or designated towards the commercial use. So when you're looking at a ground floor retail with, call it 2 levels of res above, that usually squeaks through because you have 1 level and then 2 of res. And then we got to get, if you really got to dive into it, you can look at hallways and common areas.
That's how you
storage
by,
lockers.
Right?
And that's it, right? So anything allocated towards the residential use. So the common entrance and stairwells for the residential, that's residential use. So we'll actually add that square footage to that. The basement is kind of an interesting one, right? That's the one that makes or breaks it sometimes, because is the basement leased to the commercial tenants on the main floor, or is it not? Right. If it is, you're kind of cooked, because now you're almost 50-50. If the basement's not, and you want to designate that as residential space for storage units, mechanicals, whatever you need to do.
We saw a dog run once.
In the basement?
All they did was just throw down turf and make it a dog run.
Love it.
But that's
awesome.
The residential tenants. So it qualifies. Now, everything has to be pushed, right? It's not just, there's not check boxes. CMHC has nuances, of course, but
Yeah, that's what I said. It's like you can be extremely nuanced, and then that also applies to the revenue generated, right? So you can't have a third of commercial, but that's making 90% of the revenue of the building. They'll also shoot that down, right? So it almost has to be a third of the square footage and a third of the revenue of the building, or no more than that. A lot of the times these buildings were built 25% commercial, the remainder res. So those will go through no problem. But no, because you know what, to add on to that, there's also a whole investment strategy here, which I know we've sold to clients before, and it's worked really well, where you're buying these mixed use buildings and they're being underwritten and analyzed as a traditional mixed use deal, because the seller's not aware you can bring it to CMHC. I had this conversation with somebody the other day. He was actually just called me to ask about a refi. He said, hey, I have this mixed use building. Thing's worth a couple $1 million. The guy's got like 700,000 on it, conventional.
Right.
And he's like, I really need cash. I want to go buy some stuff, right? And I said, well, have you looked at this building? And he goes, oh, it's mixed use. I can't go to CMHC. I said, no. Let's
let's It's amazing how many people.
So we did a full breakdown on it, and like he's going now to CMHC.
Amazing.
The guy's going to be able to pull out like $1 million.
That's incredible.
Like it's huge for him, right? It was just something he didn't even know was sitting there. So that was cool. So yeah, really, that's, to my understanding, Dave, if you want to add anything.
No, I'll touch on that point really quick. That's why we love having these clients and people that are listening to the show like and subscribe when we do calls, right? There's just, hey, what's the problem and how can we troubleshoot it together? And I think the last piece to it is the number of units. Maybe I want to just touch on that.
Very good point. Thank you. I didn't go there. So number of units, traditionally with CMHC, if it is purely residential, you need a max number or minimum number of units to get in through CMHC. So it has to slip under that commercial umbrella. So usually that is, call it 5-6 units. 6 is really where we want to start looking. 5 is still a bit of a gray area.
Yeah, you can do 5.
You can do 5, yeah. So call it 5 and above. But then again, like also realize that a $700,000 5 unit going to CMHC, like you're going to be hard pressed to find somebody that actually wants to pick that file up.
And when you do, you're going to see the spread that we talked about last week is going to be quite high.
Yes.
So it's still, now, again, devil's always in the detail. It's the nuances. There are groups that are going and finding 3-4 unit properties that are underperforming, that are legally allowed to have the ADU. They stock an ADU on it, and they're taking it to CMHC.
Yeah.
Now, admittedly, a little bit too early to see how successful that model is, but we are seeing people do that. So there's a lot of ways to take the buildings. The best is your client's example. They think it's not qualifying, and you can maneuver a few things. We had that Omimi deal that we talked about. That one, just for context, was the mixed use with the Kawartha Lakes Public Library. They actually had a section in there that they were able to legitimately reclassify as residential, that now makes it doable to go to CMHC.
Yeah, a good point when you say legitimately, because again, we don't want to be advocates saying, oh,
Just say it.
Just throw that, make that res, make that commercial. Yeah.
Right.
Because, like, listen, they do come to annual inspections. Like, maybe they're not coming in person, maybe they are. You never know. So just make sure you're doing it right.
Yep.
I have a client who he went through the efficiency program. He needed to upgrade the boiler in his building to a high efficiency, whatever, yada yada. Somehow, some way, and I don't even know because the deal closed, and I kind of went to property management and all of that, but he never did the boiler. And I don't even think he knew he didn't do the boiler. It's just like, hey, I left it with property management, it didn't happen. He's owned it for 4 years. 4 years later, they said, hey, we want to make sure that the boiler.
Oh, they did. They're doing the spot. Oh,
randomly on a final year-end review. They just said,
wow.
Oh, show us that the boiler went in. Wow. So it's like 4 years later, we thought it was done, passed. The boiler was done. Boiler wasn't done. I'm not sure, but whatever. And now they're coming back. Listen, it's not a huge deal. He expected it. He was planning to do it, so he said absolutely. So he's going to go do the boiler.
He's going to do it. Yeah.
It's getting installed now. We're going to go back, and it's going to be fine. But that's a bit more difficult when you're talking about square footage and allocations, because it's like, oh, hey, show me or prove to me that this is now residential common area, and you're like, crap, I can't.
And just for context, if you do that and you have misrepresented your agreement, you are in breach of the loan, and almost certainly they're just going to call it right away, and you're completely screwed, and you're never going to get CMHC debt. So it's walking the line. Even with the energy efficiency upgrades, you have a time frame under which you can do it, which I've heard so many different time frames that I think what's happening is it's negotiable.
It is negotiable.
There it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they basically look at it and say, well, realistically, how long is this going to take? And then, they'll say a year, and you can say, well, I need a year and a half, right? And if you really push back and forth, you can figure it out. I've never seen anything longer than 2 years.
Yeah, neither have I. Yeah, 18 is usually.
18 is usually the max. 12 month is the standard. I think 6 to 12 is the standard, and then you can push for 18. And sure, maybe somebody out there has gotten 2 years. We don't know. But.
Yeah, it's so that's a good answer. I agree. Yeah, I think there's the nuances, but if you're looking at, you own a building or you're looking at one, wondering if it qualifies, it's certainly important to make sure we get the clarity on that, because the last thing you want to do is be in a position where you think you're getting financing that you're not.
Listen, go spend the money, go get some floor plans done. It's not that hard. It's going to cost a little bit of money, and I know people are very scared of that.
Yeah.
But it's like, hey, that's going to solidify so that 4 years later they don't call you and say, prove to me. And now you're doing it nervous because you don't actually know.
Yeah.
So just go get that square footage done, get the floor plans. You have the proof. Great. Take it to CMHC. You're good to go.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
It was great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for sticking around, guys.